A year ago, my life was completely flipped upside down. I thought that I was on a trajectory with my career, with the mentor I was working with my spiritual development and growth. I thought I knew where I was going. And then everything that I understood about relationship, business partnership, all came to a screeching halt as I witnessed that relationship just get torn apart at the seams because of an epidemic that is happening in our spiritual entrepreneurial space right now. And it is time to speak about this, to call it out, to witness it for what it is, and to be discerning in who we're choosing to work with, who we're choosing to partner with, and who we're asking for help from. So I met this person several years ago, and we were immediately drawn to each other. We started working together in multiple different capacities. She ended up becoming a very dear friend of mine. She became a mentor. She taught me everything I know about universal laws. She taught me about numerology and all the pieces that I speak about today. And she helped me walk through some of the deepest, darkest experiences of my life. She helped me navigate the death of my dear dog, my little Chihuahua Diablo. She helped me walk through some pretty tough relationship shifts as I walked away from a 4-year partnership in an intimate relationship, as I walked away from being a stepmom to two beautiful boys. She helped me with all of that. And one of the biggest things that she taught was self-love and being in your own personal power. And to me, that was the one thing that was missing in my whole life, was not understanding personal power, not even knowing what self-love meant, how I could even love myself more. As an ex-cocaine addict, somebody who'd been in abusive relationships over and over and over again, and had never held a job for more than a year, I was struggling. And she came in my world at the right time when I needed that kind of support. And she was always encouraging me, and always helping me to understand what was going on with my emotions. One of the biggest things she taught me was how to regulate my emotional state and how to shift out of fight flight response and into rest repose. Because for years, I had been living in that fight flight response as an ex addict and in these abusive relationships. I just went about my day thinking that the world was going to fall apart, that when's the other shoe going to drop? So she believed in me and she held space for me in that and helped me to understand all of those pieces and brought me to a place where I could love myself, where I could experience that personal power, where that inner critic became my greatest cheerleader. And I am deeply grateful for everything that I ever learned from her. But there comes around the epidemic that we are seeing in the entrepreneurial space. These spiritual mentors, spiritual entrepreneurs, guides, psychics, mediums, channels, whatever word you want to use to label these so-called mentors. Now, whether you choose to work with someone or not, and I do highly encourage that you do work with somebody, that you have someone who will point things out to you, who will mirror things to you, who will show you what's possible for you and bring you through some of those really hard experiences that we all have in life. I've never met a human being who doesn't experience trauma. I highly recommend working with mentors, but what I also highly recommend is discernment. Because in the spiritual entrepreneurial space, I am seeing so much misconception, so many beliefs being instilled and indoctrinated into people's minds that aren't real. So we have to remember that anyone who is acting in the place of a spiritual mentor, a channel, a guide, a medium, anything, is still a human being, and therefore is channeling through their human tendencies, their own patterns, and their own perceptions. And so if you are working with a spiritual mentor and you know that you've got some sort of belief around money and how it moves through the world, or how relationships should work, and that human that is guiding you and supporting you and helping you and channeling information through has a challenge in that area, you're going to run up against a problem. This is where this beautiful relationship that I had with this particular mentor fell apart at the seams, because as I was gaining my own personal power, as I was coming to my own sense of self-worth and self-love, I started to recognize some disconnect in the messages that she was sharing and the messages that I was receiving intuitively. Because all of us, every single human being has intuitive capacity. It's just whether or not we choose to activate it and use it and then listen to it is what makes the difference. But there is no person on this planet who can tell you how it is, who can speak, quote unquote, absolute truth to you, because it's always being channeled and filtered through that human's perceptions and beliefs and how they see the world. And so we need to be discerning. And this is where about a year ago, this started to shift for me as I started to witness things in that mentorship that weren't aligned with where I wanted to go. They just weren't fitting and they weren't adding up. And my perceptions were one of spiritual people, for lack of a better term, deserve to get paid for their gifts. That marketing and promoting your gifts is your divine right on this planet. That we came to this 3D world to play within it, to create within it, and to have fun and create impact and not have to go to sleep at night worrying about our finances every night. So when you're working with a mentor, when you're working with somebody who is guiding you through, discernment is key. And if someone is helping you work through personal power or self-worth or self-love, they damn well better be celebrating you on the other side when you break through to that personal power. So as I stepped forward and claimed my sovereignty and my personal power, I was shut out from a community. As I chose to take ownership of my own experience and claim my self-worth and start marketing myself for my gifts in the world, I was named a predator. And as I chose to use my gifts for good in the world and get paid for it, I was publicly thrown under the metaphorical bus. And the last thing that I ever want to see is for that to happen to you, which is why I'm so passionate about sharing this story now, talking about what happened. I'm not going to hide behind the scenes. I'm not going to remain silent because this spiritual abuse that's occurring right now, I see it everywhere. I see it often, so often that it needs to be talked about. You were born valuable, you were born wealthy, and you were born powerful. And there is no one on this planet who can take that away from you unless you choose to let them. You deserve to get paid for your gifts. And no matter what some mentor is telling you, some channel is telling you, some intuitive or psychic or medium is telling you, please listen to your own soul. Listen and discern, is this true for me? Because one person's version of truth isn't necessarily another person's truth. And you get to decide. There is no right or wrong. There is no black or white. You get to decide your truth based on what your soul is calling for. And so if someone is telling you that you shouldn't be out there marketing your services because it's vindictive and it's manipulative, is that true for you? Or has somebody just told you that and you've taken on that belief as your own? There's a big difference to what your mind thinks is true versus what your soul knows to be true. And discernment is so key when we are working with these mentors. Yes, you can get amazing advice from them. Yes, they can help you transform your entire life, just like this particular mentor did for me. But if you're not careful, they can also lead you down a path that will help you ruin your life. So please be mindful. Please be careful. Do your due diligence. Ask around. Look for referrals. Get on a call and be discerning with the person you're looking to hire. Because you were born to be on this planet to thrive. God did not give you your gifts so that you could starve and go PayPal to PayPal and borrow from the bank of mom and stress out and worry about money. God put you on this planet to be of service, to create impact. And because of the way of the world, money is a part of it And money is only abundance, and a reflection of your inner level of abundance. So if your bank account is empty, look at who is talking to you. Look at who you're working with. Pay attention to the circles you find yourself in. Because if your bank account is reflecting something different than what you actually want to experience, it's likely that there is a story being told that isn't true for your soul. Now, I have no hard feelings. I have nothing bad to say about this particular person, only that we need to be aware. Awareness is everything, and we need to be hyper aware about what's going on in our own environment, who we're listening to, who we're willing to take on as we take on their information, and to be hyper discerning. And if we decide that it's time to walk away from a particular mentorship, if it's time to walk away from a relationship, we can cut ties. Yes, it will be painful, but it will be more painful to stay there if you're being told something that is not true for your soul. And so in your discernment, you can decide, and you can forgive them for what they cannot see within you. You can love them for being human, because that's all they are, is human. You can thank them for everything you've ever learned along the way, because believe me, I learned so much. And then you can say goodbye. It was about a year ago that I walked away from this friendship, deep, deep, intimate friendship. I walked away from this mentorship, and I walked away from a business. And in doing so, on that same day, I chose me. And this past year, although has been painful as I've released this relationship and have suffered through the grief of that and worked through the grief of that, what else has happened has been absolutely magical. As I became a first-time homeowner, I started my own business, which became successful very quickly because it was based on my own essence and truth and not someone else's. I got engaged. I became a film actor and producer as I worked on a short film about my own life experience. So in the letting go of something that was not matched up with my truth, I was able to step forward into what was absolutely true for me. So I want you to know that you can experience any extraordinary version of your life that you want to, and you're unstoppable so long as you're listening to you and being discerning about what you're consuming from everyone else. So I want to welcome you back to the newest season of the Life at Full Blast podcast, a fully revamped new version where I'm going to be speaking in season 4 about the misconceptions that are being shared in the spiritual world. This concept of spiritual poverty, the guru energy that's showing up right now, understanding that humans are still humans and our perceptions that are included in any channeled messages. I also channel messages through with the numerology and the universal laws. And I hope that if you're listening to any of my channeled messages, you are doing it with discernment. And if it does not resonate with you in any way, that you are being discerning and choosing your own sovereign path. You must be able to discern. And I'm going to be talking about limiting beliefs and what's actually going on there, because you don't actually have any limiting beliefs. And so I'm going to challenge some of these things that are coming up in the spiritual world. I'm going to be talking about this addiction that we have to healing and understanding what personal power actually is and how you can become absolutely sovereign and create the life of your dreams, set up the business of your dreams, how you can go and follow certain strategies and tactics while still being sovereign, while still knowing that you're doing it for the truth of your essence, even if it feels a little uncomfortable, because you know that the intention behind it is different than what all the so-called gurus are telling you. So for the next season, over the next several episodes, I'm going to be bringing our awareness and attention to all of these misconceptions that are happening in the spiritual entrepreneurial space, what you can do about it, and how to shift your mindset so that you can experience the best, most full blast life and business that you've ever desired. I hope to see you in all the next episodes. And as always, please let me know what you think even if you don't agree. I'll see you on the inside.